Hi guys, Keith Thorkberg Farms. It's first week, January 2020. So you can see around me, the snow has all melted, and there's a water pit, mud pit. There's a mud pit everywhere. But what I just got today was my load of fruit trees, and since the ground is actually thawed at this point, I'm gonna come out here to the soon-to-be permaculture orchard and start planting trees. So let me show you how. So, trees show up in a big giant box just like this. Pop it open, and got a bunch. There we go. Bare root fruit trees. They've all been trimmed down quite a bit. So we just got to open up the bottom, take a look at the roots, decide our hole size, our placement, and put them in the ground. So here's what was in the box. We have 2 bundles, 5 trees each. They've all been pretty much lopped to death. All the branches have been removed. The tops were chopped. It's supposed to be right above a bud. I'll have to do some pruning to fix that. That one was closed, but it went a little bit too far in. I don't know much about fruit trees, other than I got to dig a hole and plant them at this point. But I do know when you make this cut, because you want this branch to take off, you'd want to cut right about there, which I can make these a little later in the season afterwards. So here is the basics of what arrived. Start down at the bottom. Looks like it is a rootstock scion. You can tell that because there's a knot from a branch. Looks like it was planted right in here somewhere is where I'm guessing. You can see the color change. There's really no root flare. All the rooting's down at the bottom. So, and on top of that, here's this graft point. It's grafted here. This was cut off. The grafting scion took over. And then we have 2 tags on each tree. One, this is citation hybrid rootstock. So this is a peach tree. So it'll give us a 12 to 18 foot tree. And this is a Muir peach. It's all important information. I've got tags, we'll put them on later. But for now, the main thing I got to concentrate on is I need a hole. There you can see the root size. About that big. And I was guessing about that deep, which just happens to be about as deep as that shovel I got. And we'll trim off a little bit of the roots if they don't fit. Make sure to get our grafting point facing the north easterly direction. Keep it out of the sun as much as possible during the heat of the day. Throw a little rock phosphate in the hole, and we'll start digging. But first, I need to get that piece of paper that I showed you all earlier. Now, if you watched my video on permaculture orchard and my plans to plant one, which was where I'm standing at to plant, I had a piece of paper in my hand. And I laid it out in front of you and took it and put the camera on and said, now, in case I ever lose this thing, this is a great record. I can go back and look at it. Guess what I did? I lost it. So what I did is I went back to the video, took a screenshot of it, which I'm going to insert right here. And now I know where stuff goes. So, like I said, even if you don't do YouTube videos or whatever, if you take videos, make a YouTube channel, keep it private, and put stuff in there for your own record, you can go back and look. That goes for the same for the market garden, running utilities to the shed over here, where you built the greenhouse, heck, where you left something and you can't remember the next time you go look for it. I mean, good for anything. So for now, I'm gonna look back on that because I can't watch that and record this at the same time. And we're gonna dig a hole and plant our first tree. So let's get to it. Now, there's not too many steps to plant a tree. First one, choose your location. That's where my plot map was that I showed you earlier. I went and set flags out at the time and all the locations where I want them. Next step, get a shovel, dig a hole. I'm actually using a flat square shovel. I saw this for some British guy. He said if you dig a hole, it's a circle, when your roots try to go out, they'll go in circles. You do it in a square, when the roots go out, they hit a corner and they're forced to go out. So we're going to try this, and the ground is so wet right now, it shouldn't be much trouble at all digging a hole. So I'm not necessarily digging a hole as much as I'm just prying the dirt back. Get our flag out of there. We got that side. We got the other side. Now we're just gonna take our soil, move it back. Same thing on the other side. Flip it up. We got a little bit more at the bottom we got to work with. No real rocket science to digging a hole. Which, amazingly enough, the ground's still pretty hard underneath here. Now we get our tree. We'll see if I like that depth or not. Yeah, still right about here. I'd like to be a little deeper. So I'm going to dig this hole out a little further and get it down to about where I want it, which should just take me a little bit longer. And there's our hole. One shovel wide this way, about 2 shovel wides this way. That should be big enough to get majority of our root system down in there. Anything that goes too crazy outside the edges here, I'll just trim back. I'll show you here in a second. But first, what I want to do is make sure we get a good seat in the bottom of the hole, where it feels like I'm still hitting just a little bit over here on this side. So I'm going to dig that corner out just a hair. And if we stop and look at ground level, I'll put my hand across, right about there. I might actually bring the tree up a little because I want this about that far up out of the ground. Probably going up there. So I'll go through, throw some soil back in the bottom of the hole, raise up the bottom of the base of the root system. Then we have our rock dust, which for me out here is rock phosphate. Let's take a pinch, the bottom of each hole, because I know that's one thing that we're short on out here. Other than that, it's getting the pH up with a little bit of lime. Don't really have to worry about that as much because I can top dress that. Now we get our tree put in there. Let me switch around to a different angle. Now, ready for our tree. Make sure where it was cut from the rootstock to the scion, we set that to the northeasterly direction. Get that seated down the bottom of the hole. Kind of push our roots down in the hole a little bit. Any that are too long and feel like they're really getting twisted, just going to cut them back. because I don't want them spiraling in this hole. I want them to go down and out in all directions. Which I believe that'll do right there. From here, get the rest of our loose dirt back in. And check our ground level. Still like it. We're about, I don't know, length of my thumb above the ground. It's about 3 inches, which is good. Put the rest of our dirt back in. And then where our grass came out in blocks. Oh! Now where our grass came out in blocks, we'll just block it right back in the hole. Hopefully exactly the same way it was before. Try to get as much of our dirt down in there as possible and spread out. Make sure we're pretty much straight. Then we stomp it in. Just as simple as that. Now there's 1 tree down, 10 more to go. Now here you can really see where they just lopped the top off, then lopped all the branches right off of it, all the way down the whole entire tree. Which there's some latent buds that'll come out. This is a peach tree, which is not a big of a deal, but usually they'll still kick. You top a tree right above the bud, and then the bud will branch out. But if you lop the branch off, I'm gonna get buds from somewhere. I'm not sure from where. I don't know. We'll see. Supposedly it's how they do it, because that's how they came. Well, that didn't take too long. So now, time to kick it in overdrive, put this in hyperlapse, and hopefully plant this whole thing out here in just a few minutes. But we'll get the trees set out first and be ready to go. So the final step is to get some of these aluminum tags, double-sided. They got cardboard in the center of them. I mark what kind it is. A is apple. It's a Granny Smith, so Granny. What type of rootstock it's on, and when it was planted. I then, because this has no branches, place it down at the bottom of the tree. We're not going to go super tight. We want to go tight enough that it won't bang around too much. Get it twisted on there. Go a little bit looser than that. There we go. Now we're done. So that didn't take me too awful long. And the ground is just saturated, soaking wet. So as you can see, I was just bringing up blocks of soil on both sides, dropping it down to the bottom, and then just covering the roots back over. That's one convenience you have of doing this in the winter right now when the ground's not frozen but completely saturated. Now the good thing is I don't have to water any of these in. They're already, ground's wet, they're dormant, they're not going anywhere. So I got my little orchard of sticks going. Let's hope these actually start fruiting. It'll be at least next year before any of these actually fruit. But that's what I got, sticks right now. Where the green flags are, if you didn't watch my other video, the I'm starting a permaculture orchard. These are for my nitrogen fixing trees. I think I've narrowed it down that I'm going to use a golden rain tree is what it's looking like, because they look pretty. I can get them just shoot a single stalk up, and seems like it'll be a lot easier than a honey locust, because I actually have native honey locusts out here, and I mean, some of them are, you know, that big around, that are probably 40 or 50 years old, and if that's in an orchard, that's going to be huge. I can't deal with that. Maybe in a 10 or 15 year scheme of plans, that'll be fine, but once they get that big, they're just going to take over without completely topping them constantly. But that's my thoughts on that. I'm going to get the rest of the construction debris picked up now that it's actually no snow on the ground, and call it a day. So hope y'all like what you saw here today. If you did, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank y'all. Have a good day.